In this video, we'll have a look at the Slowpoke Tail ingredient and just go in depth here about all the Pokemon that can find it and the overall strategy on how to maximize your Slowpoke Tail production. We won't cover too much the cooking side. This is mostly Pokemon focused and the ingredient itself. And then in later guides and videos, we'll talk more about the cooking aspect of the game. So for the most part, there isn't really a good Slowpoke Tail Pokemon at this time. The reason for it is the few Pokemon that do get the tails, they either get them super late or they just don't drop a whole lot of them. The main reason for it is naturally the Slowpoke Tail has an insane value, 342 per tail, which is roughly the same as twice a regular ingredient. This is the top 3 most valuable ingredients overall, but I am gonna switch out the tasty mushroom here for the soothing cacao, just so that we have it on screen here. You can see that the soothing cacao is a value of 150. 2 cacao is still less than a single tail, which is the reason why you can see the drops here are quite different. So in my opinion, I don't think Slowking overall is pulling enough weight on the team to justify its spot, even as a Slowpoke Tail farmer. But if you were to choose one Pokemon that do tails and do tails well, then potentially getting that double tail Slowpoke can be an idea. A big letdown with the Slowking is that it has a very low ingredient rate, but it's a skill specialist, so you kind of are stuck between two options. You can either go the ingredient route and boost a very low ingredient rate into something okay, or you can go the skill specialist route and just take the tails whenever you get them. I think for me personally, if I was to go in and get a Slowking at some point, I would probably preserve the category, which is a common theme here on the channel, and I would personally look for the berry finding on it. Even though it is rather slow, I think overall that would be a better option. And probably then look for the skill trigger M, and then maybe ingredient finder M, so that the level 50 spot is kind of influenced a little bit once you get close to level 60. But the other issue with Slowking is it's slow. It's in the name. Maybe you don't even get the berry finding, but then again, it doesn't really provide all that much value otherwise. But it's a skill specialist, so overall it's super confused. Maybe you can get like the adamant nature here to help with the speed, to help with the berry collection, but it's a drawback from the ingredient finding, which is kind of what you want too. So maybe a mild nature could be good for that ingredient finding, but then it's a skill specialist, so maybe you want the careful nature, but then it has the ingredient finding down. So it's impossible to really strike that balance between, is it a berry Pokemon, is it a skill Pokemon, do you want the ingredients? So it's slow, it's just very, very confused. So you could potentially consider the ingredient finder M, the helping speed M, the inventory L, and maybe like the mild nature, just go all in ingredients. But it's not going to farm all that much for you. It's just going to be your average skill specialist drop here with few tails, which you can then save up potentially for like event preparation. But it's very funny because Slowpoke Tail is such a strong ingredient, but none of the Pokemon that really drops it does it all that well, with a little bit of an exception. We have a bit of a turn in this video, and that is because of Ditto. Ditto has a fairly low frequency. It has a better ingredient rate, but it has a much higher drop here. You can see it's 3 tails, while Slow King was 2. This drop is worth well over 1,000 in base value. So that is incredibly strong. Large leak. 3 large leaks, that's almost 600 per drop. That is a massive drop as an ingredient specialist. And then you have some oil for good comboing. If I'm not mistaken, oil and tails tend to go well together. So even if you find an oil tail Ditto, that's perfectly fine. But for me personally, I think the oil leak tail combo is the best. So for your main Slowpoke Tail farmer, it's not even Ditto. It is Vaporeon. There's another twist in this video. What is this? Ingredient Magnet S gives you 6 ingredients chosen at random. Now, how do you go about that? If you can somehow find maybe the berry finding S, skill trigger M, helping speed M, skill trigger S, helping speed S, and what's the nature again? Now we're looking at tail production, because this 6% with this speed, with the Vaporeon S tier skill specialist, you are actually over time getting a lot of tails. It's probably comparable to the Ditto, at least a little bit, but maybe not. And the Vaporeon is available at level 25 for you to really have a lot of fun with it. Because as soon as you unlock the Slowpoke Tail, this skill trigger rate is fast. This frequency is fairly slow, but it's decent. And you have the potential for the berry finding, skill trigger M, and a decent nature. So the Vaporeon is actually the best Slowpoke Tail Pokemon. The only last honorable mention here is the Ingredient Magnet S in general. I've covered this main skill in its own video, which you can check out if you're interested. And yeah, the last Pokemon here is Slowbro, but Slowbro is just a worse Slowking in every way possible. I have tried to find ways to justify it, but it just does not pull its weight. You can see here the ingredient list naturally is identical because they are in the same evolution line. Their skill rate is almost identical. And Slowking has a bit more inventory, so it's going to have 16 instead of 15 if you evolve it from Slowpoke. And it's almost 10 minutes faster. So the only real difference here is the evolution requirement. If I'm not mistaken, the Slowking is like 80 candy, and you need one of those cables as well. But yeah, you need the cable and you need the King's Rock and 80 Slowpoke candy. So overall, it's a bit more expensive to evolve, but you get a much better Pokemon. So why not just go for it? But yeah, the Slowpoke Tail's definitely an interesting ingredient. It's just not very easy to get your hands on it. And especially with this level 60 slot not being available at the current time. Overall, I do wonder, with the recent discussions on the overcharge strategy, we can talk a little bit about that just to have it covered in this tail video. The Energizing Cheer S is comparable, but it's worse than the Energy for Everyone main skill. Though if you have a good A-B team setup where you have a main team, and then you run your regular healers, and maybe you have like an Energy for Everyone and an Energizing Cheer Pokemon. Wow, how did I do that? It's not New Year's yet. That is so ridiculously funny. If you somehow can run maybe an Energy for All, and an Energizing Cheer Pokemon, then a couple of those Pokemon will likely end up at 150% or 145 or 140, and you can switch them out and overcharge the bag. And if you have a main skill that is super strong and you have the main team, you can then just switch back and forth between B and A team and then wait with a proc on the healing Pokemon until you switch teams. Because if, let's say, Sylveon is on Team A and Team B, if you don't click on the Sylveon but the rest on the A team, you then just switch teams. Sylveon is still on team, you haven't clicked it, boop, and the energy goes into the B team, and then you switch back to the A team. And I know that was a little bit of a lot of switching and stuff. I'll probably cover that in its own video, but essentially that concept applies here because it's energizing. It's an energy Pokemon, and potentially if you can find the proper setup here for the Slowking, which will be Helping Speed, Skill Trigger M, and then I would probably look for Skill Level Up M on the Slowking personally. But obviously the Skill Trigger S or the Ingredient Finding, that could be cool. Ingredient Finder M and maybe the Skill Trigger S. And then you don't want maybe Calm Nature? No, not Calm. Naughty? Definitely not. Oof, what is it that I'm thinking of? Gentle. There we go. Yeah, so if you can find something like this on the Slowking, that could be a potential good source of tails as well. So if you have any input on this topic, I would love to hear it in the comments. Slowpoke Tail is something that's going to be interesting coming into the future developments of the game here, because it is such a strong ingredient. Maybe there's some power creep at some point, we'll see. But for the most part, this is the overall discussion. But leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe for more Pokemon Sleep content. Thank you for watching.